Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining. Mirza Hashem, Rabbi Barber is going to log on in just a second. I'm just going to give a little, everybody can hear me? For those that turned on their videos. Can you hear me? Rabbi Edel, you could hear me? Okay. So, yeah, so just going on the order of tonight's open house. Tonight is not a shir. It's going to be a short, brief overview of what exactly this course is. We're going to hear from the Maggid Shir, Rabbi Barber, going to speak. We're going to hear as well from the Manal of the program, Rabbi Wilhelm, followed by we're going to have a firsthand testimony from one of the current students in the course, Rabbi Edel Schwartz, who joined us here tonight. And finally, we're going to finish off with a little bit of question and answer. There's going to be a short video explaining some of the technical details of the course. Rabbi Barber is just signing in right now. Second, Rabbi Barber. Oh, Rabbi Barber, we just gave you the introduction. So, without further ado. Rabbi Barber, you're muted. You're muted.
Okay, so Shalom Aleichem, everybody. First of all, welcome. I'll be available to answer some specific questions that you have a little bit later on. So I don't really know what to focus on over here. What part I'll just give you, I guess, a little bit of the structure of what it is. This is we go through in the course of the year the classic sections, the main sections of Yeridea, of the parts of Shulchan Aruch that were classically required, or it's the basic requirement of Semicha, and that focuses on the laws of Kashrus, and it covers the laws of Basar B'chalav, Taruvis, which are general rules of forbidden mixtures. Basically, it's all the rules that govern, how taste transfers and stuff like that. And then the laws of salting, which again, we do at the end. We don't really focus that much on it because nowadays it's not so relevant practically, because most of the salting is generally done in the factory before we get to see the meat that we buy in the store. But traditionally, that was probably the most important part of Smicha that was studied, because the way it was done in the olden days would, you would take the bird or the animal to the shoichet, they would shecht it, and then it would be your responsibility to salt it. So you take it home and you'd salt it. So the people were doing the salting of the meat to kasher it, to get the blood out. They were doing that on their own. So all sorts of questions would come up in that regard. So that was like the most relevant and practical part of Smicha back in the day. But now, because we don't really do it personally by ourselves, so it's kind of like the least practical, but we still learn it because we have to learn all the main, the main sections. We have to know all these rules, but we don't spend that much time on it, but we do learn all the rules. We spend most of the time learning the laws of Basar B'chalav, because that basically governs all the complications that come up in the kitchen. If you wash the fleishige dish with the milchige sponge, or if you by mistake warm something up, a milchige dish in a fleishige oven, or if you're traveling, how you approach it. So that's all complicated. And there's a reason why these dinim are chosen specifically for what was studied and what was tested on before Smicha, because they are complex rules. The laws of Orach Chaim, the rules of daily procedural things, of how you're supposed to conduct your day, davening and putting on tefillin and tzitzis, and all these things are extremely important, and we also encounter them, but they're a little bit more straightforward. There are parts of Shabbos and there are parts of Pesach that can get pretty complicated, but for the most part, those rules are more straightforward. Whereas these involve complications, right? We try to keep a kosher kitchen, right? But then these rules are the complications when there's a mess up. So we go through it. We go through the Shulchan Aruch. I make slight differences in the order so that it could be easier to process the information, because the order of the Shulchan Aruch is more chronological. So it's going to first tell you the laws of shechita, how to slaughter the meat, and then it's going to tell you the laws of treifa, and then it's going to tell you how to kasher the meat, how to get the blood out. And then, you can come up to the rules of, let's say, basar b'chalav, when there's a mix-up between milchiks and fleishiks. So that the Shulchan Aruch is structured, not necessarily that the order of the Shulchan Aruch is the easiest way to learn the material. It's structured that if you want to find something, you want to check it up, you don't know where to look, so you could use a little bit of logic to figure out which section comes before the other section. Like in Hilchos Shabbos, the laws of Kiddush are going to come before the laws of, when it speaks about the other things that occur on Shabbos, the malachas, so it's just so that you can find what you're looking for. But in terms of how it's easier to learn it, so we draw on our experience teaching at Baruch Hashem for many, many years, and we figure what makes it easiest for everybody to learn it and to process it in an organized way. And we try our best with all different sorts of visual aids that I like to use, like make pictures while I'm teaching. I just make with markers and stuff like that, just to bring out and explain what I'm talking about. And then there's the professional booklets that you receive when you sign up, that have all much of the halachas, laid out in a very professional, illustrations that are prepared with some of the laws on bottom. And there's a summaries booklet. Maybe Rabbi Bisk will talk more about that. I'm going to stop here. Okay, so the format of the shir, I guess I'll talk for another minute or so about the format of the shir. Is everybody logs into the Zoom, and then I sit and explain and teach, and then afterwards, I don't really, usually it works out best when, especially over Zoom, where you don't have questions during the actual, while I'm in the middle of explaining it, because that interrupts the flow. But afterwards, sometimes there is time during the shir time to be open for questions, but I'm always open in the Zoom. Usually the shir has a Zoom group, like a chat from everybody together, and that's where all notifications are posted. And I'm always available. So even if you couldn't get your question in during the shir time, you post your question over there, and especially if it relates to the shir, answer right away. And if it's just general discussion, first I let everybody discuss it amongst themselves, because that's also very valuable part of the learning process. And then I throw in my 2 cents at the end, so everybody could see, what parts they were right on, what parts or if they were off a little bit about certain aspects. So it's also part of and it's also used for updates. I think the updates are also always sent by email, but a lot of people, get it quicker that way. So that's also a nice thing, that the chat that it's used for, the group chat. Okay, I'll pass it back to Rabbi Bisk, and then I'll be available for questions later on.
Shikayach, perfect. So I put in the chat box. Obviously, there's going to be a Q&A section, but throughout, if something comes up, put it in the chat box, and we're going to try to get to it in the last few minutes of this meeting. Right now, I know the next part I said the Manal, Rabbi Wilhelm, is going to come soon. He's just a little bit delayed, so we're going to move the schedule a little bit. And Rabbi Yidel Schwartz is with us here tonight, and he is a current student. This is I believe it's our 4th year of the Semicha class, and he's a student in our class this year. We'll hear a few words from him. Rabbi Schwartz.
So I go now? Is that what you said?
Yep, right now.
Oh, okay, good.
Welcome.
Well, welcome everyone. Proud to be here. I'm not being paid or anything. I volunteered for this because I feel that I perhaps can be of some value to you. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So
Yes.
Rabbi Barber, I think Rabbi Barber alluded to the fact that the Issachar is a little different than other kinds of studies. And when you learn Hilchos Shabbos, you're basically, most of the time, you're learning one aspect at a time. You're dealing with one malacha at a time, one issue at a time. And things are more localized in Shulchan Aruch, and that's the way most of Shulchan Aruch is set up. So you're dealing with carrying on Shabbos. There'll be a whole simon on carrying on Shabbos, and so forth and so on. And your day is different in a way that things are more spread out, and that's why you need a Rebbe. And if you learn yourself, I can tell you, uh, probably close to 40 years ago, when I learned my Charusa myself, it was much more difficult because what you need to know is some information that's brought elsewhere. And it's difficult once you know everything, you know how to present it to somebody else. So it's very different and it does need a Rebbe. I did my research, and Man Yilmud doesn't know, but I did my research before I signed up here. And this is like the best, actually the best place to do it, really, because if you're just going to listen to a whole bunch of laws that are superficial to you and just memorize them without understanding the background, then what happens is you don't retain the material. On the other hand, what you can do is you can learn like you learn in yeshiva. Well, they'll learn the halachas of Asar B'Cholov. They'll learn for a full entire semester, 4 hours a day, right? And learn it extremely thoroughly. It's really an art of presenting it in an extremely clear way. And even though Chazal say that you only say a portion of the person's praise in front of him, I could tell you that here it's mastered. This is mastered. An extremely very clear kind of sheer, bringing in only what you need to know from elsewhere throughout the whole Shulchan Aruch and for the whole material, so that you come away not feeling overwhelmed, but feeling fulfilled and knowing the halacha well. So this is a very, very unique program. I can just share with you quickly some things to make sure that I don't overspeak my time. I could tell you that listening, that all the shiurim are available. They give it to you in podcast and they give it to you in video. Listening again to a shiur was extremely helpful. Something that you missed the first time, or if you didn't understand the first time, I find that I could usually listen to the shiur on the 1.2 speed, which is, you can adjust the speed of listening and still get everything I need. If I want to get up to a certain point, I'll run it at 1.5, but that's a little too fast for clear review. And then you slow it down to original speed where you're up to, where you need some help. So um, basically, that's what I have to say. Shabbos is a good time to use the study materials and the booklets and the visualizations to read, to review. Um, and all I can say is I can guarantee that you will do well because the Barber's available. The group is amazing. The chevra, the feeling of being together and learning this is it's just an amazing thing. And I've heard dozens of shiurim from dozens of people throughout the years. I'm a little older, and I can tell you that this is something that's really unique. And I know, discussing with people who went through other programs, they told me that they want to take this one. After I told them how it is, the staff to take the other one, they're still going to come here, they'll come here. It's a very unique way of blending, giving you all the material, which is complicated material, and making it easy to understand, breaking it up, giving you the support and everything that you need. And again, if I can help the new class in any way, be glad to help.
Grace and
Any
Yeshua.
questions?
And Grace and Yeshua. We're gonna, at this point in the meeting, we're gonna move on to a short video that's going to explain some of the technical parts of Laman Yilmadu's learning course and how that works as far as on the Talmud side. I'm just gonna share my screen for a second. Perfect. Share.
At Laman Yilmadu, everything is done so that you will be successful in your studies. with top-notch Magidei Shiur, quality learning materials, and wide-ranging support, which makes success more feasible than ever. We stay with you all the way until the Chag Smicha, when you receive the long-awaited certificate, signed by the Rabbanim of our Vada Smicha. Before the semester begins, you will get a package with the learning material for the entire year. You will find the Shulchan Aruch booklets, detailed summary booklets, and booklets with charts and diagrams. For most courses, all the material is translated into English, except for advanced courses like Learning for Dayanis, where the material is in Hebrew. This enables someone who is not fluent in Hebrew to learn halacha on a high level. Along with the booklets, you will receive a folder with a pen and loose leaf to write summaries. In addition, if you join the Shechita or Safrus group, you will also get everything you need, including knives and Shechita stones, ink, a quill, and parchment. All of our shiurim take place live in the evening and are on Zoom, along with classes that take place in person at our study center in Crown Heights. This enables every student anywhere in the world to participate in the learning from home or the office, and to take part in a live shiur with questions and answers at a convenient time and with maximal ease. Before classes begin, we will send a detailed calendar with all the dates for classes for the year. In addition, 15 minutes before a shiur, we will send a reminder with Google Calendar with a Zoom link. Every student has a personal account on the site, which you can enter with a username and password. After every shiur, a video recording of the class is uploaded to the account, and an email is sent with a link to the class. This way, if you want to review the class, or in the event that you were unable to attend the class, you will be able to watch the recording the next day. In addition to the video recording, a link will be sent with an audio version that can be listened to as a podcast. So even while driving or doing work that does not allow you to watch a video but allows you to listen, you can do so easily. Another useful tool that you will find on the site is a quiz which appears after every shiur with a number of questions and multiple choice format. You are not required to take the quiz, but it will help you see to what extent you mastered the material that was taught. In addition to the personal account on the site, there's a WhatsApp group for each class separately. This is an excellent way to be updated, be in contact with other students, ask questions about the material, and in general, to make the learning an experience of a shared journey with others doing the same thing. Every few months, each student is given the opportunity to show his progress in both written tests as well as oral tests conducted by Chashuva Rabbanim. Our staff is here to help you regarding any question you may have. The Magidei Shiur are available to answer questions on the material. The office staff does everything they can to help every student in every way.
Okay. So just before we move on to the before we move on to the next part, Rabbi Wilhelm is with us now. He's just going to say a few words on the program. This course is, of course, all Lili Nish. There's a lot. Rabbi Wilhelm, there's a Stück noise.
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes. Just wanted to mention that this course is, of course, along with all of our courses, Lili Nishmas, Rabbi Wilhelm's father, Joshua Wilhelm Olav Shalom, who used to give this course. So without further ado, we want to hear a few words from Rabbi Wilhelm.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much, Rabbi Levi, Rabbi Blisk, and Yeshakar for all those that are joining and being part of this, even this evening, just to check out and to see and to test a little bit of the flavor that we have over here, Baruch Hashem. It was mentioned, and I'm sure it's special to know that this is the 5th year of Shiurim under the Laman Yilmudu, the 5th year of Smicha, Talmidim, learning, and it will just continue to grow, Baruch Hashem. It started, and there's a very strong call that the Rebbe requested that every single person should have smicha in their house for purpose of learning and knowing. And the specialty of the Laman Yilmudu is that we made a structure properly engaging amazing Maggid Shir Rabbi Barber, a big Eshekaya for really, putting in. It's nights and nights. It's almost every single night, or 2 times a week at least, with a lot of hours. And anyone that comes through this is really, at the end of the year, it's going to be a busy year. It will. But at the end of the year, you're going to come up with properly a smicha if you're following along. And this is just something very special that all of us could attain by the end of a cycle of a year. The Laman Yilmudu, the Machal Laman Yilmudu was opened in order that we should learn halacha in a very structured way. And one of the the biggest section of halacha that people want is to learn the smicha, to learn the to learn Yoreh Deah, and therefore this was made accessible. It was mentioned in the video. Just shortly I saw the video, but I saw the video prior, and the Nakuda is that everyone gets booklets. Everyone, it's to be very clear. Keshulchan aruch. The Nakuda of a Shulchan Aruch means it's a prepared table. The table is prepared. It's going to be set, and all you have to do is come and you eat you reap of the fruits. So the curriculum was beautifully built. The Magachir is an amazing Magachir, clear, geschmack. It's a machaya to listen to someone so clear, and there's even a shir that you could hear of Rabbi Barber. I know Rabbi Barber spoke earlier. So this is a very special, unique opportunity. I wish everyone hatzlacha and ta'amuru kitoiv Hashem as medhabim geshmak in the learning of the halacha. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Rabbi Bisk, for arranging this evening, and hatzlacha rabba. Kolto, thank you so much for giving me this minute.
Thank you very much. Okay, just wanted to clarify a few points before we move on to questions and answers. One thing that was mentioned in the video is regarding the classes which are live, which will also answer, I believe, one of the questions in the chat box. What is unique about Laman Yilmadu's courses, different than some other, I'm not specifying any names of other Semicha groups, is that our shiurim take place live, meaning it's a live Zoom class with a live Maggid Shir giving a live shir. And those times for this course in particular, that's 7:30 to 9 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesday nights, Eastern time, New York time. And being as such that the shiurim are live, it is highly encouraged to attend in the time that they happen. Obviously, they are going to be recorded and uploaded into your portal, and you can watch them at any time. But because it is a live class, and that's one of the advantages, as Rabbi Barber mentioned, Dibuk Chaverim, that you're all learning it together, we suggest that you come live. And the other advantage of that is that you don't fall behind. If you know that 7:30 to 9, that's my time to come to Shir, then you know that I'm with the class. Whereas if you fall behind and you're like, okay, I'll rely on the recordings, you have to listen to one recording, you have to catch up to 2 recordings. Before you know it, you have to catch up to 8 recordings, and you could kind of lose the flow of the class, which will kind of answer another question in the chat box. Can you join now or can you join later? So the answer pretty much is, ideally, you should be joining now to be with the class in all of the shiurim and with the class by all the tests. We're not, we're up until the course starts is the opportunity to register. But then we're moving. We don't stop. Every Monday there's a shir, every Wednesday there's a shir, and every 3 to 4 months there's another test, sometimes even less. Now, another point I wanted to clarify is regarding tests. Tests are both written and oral, and attendance for the oral test is mandatory. It's a mandatory part to receive your smicha at the end of the year, that you actually be there. And these are their rabbanim that are going to be testing you. Are they going to be their rabbanim that are signing your smicha certificate at the end of the year? So it is crucial that you attend those shiurim live. And the written tests, they're gonna be emailed to you throughout with a due date when they're like the cutoff date to send them in, and they should be sent in before that cutoff date. And following that, within a few days, a few weeks, depending on how soon they get marked, you will receive the grades for that written test via email. Finally, the last point that I want to discuss is obviously the Imen Kemach Inter. There is a price. This is not a free course. The cost of the entire course over the year is $3,300, which will be divided into monthly installments. You could pay it all at once, but we make it a little bit more chewable. Monthly payments of $275 throughout the year. And all those that are here tonight at the open house are entitled to a open house special coupon discount for 5% off for the course. Now we'll take some questions, and I'll see which ones were in the some stuff I got to that are in the chat box regarding live or in person. It's both. Live meaning the shiurim are going to be taking place in Crown Heights live, but there's going to be a Zoom option for those, meaning live in our base Medrash on Empire Boulevard. For those that don't live in Crown Heights, the shiurim are on Zoom, but live meaning recorded live every single every single shir are going to be recorded at that time. Now the oral tests are mostly over Zoom. There will be one during the year which will take place in New York. Again, it's for those that are able to make it. For those who live in New York, then it's mandatory. For those that could come in for the test, Matoiv. I see raising a hand. Rabbi Yoel, are you raising for a question?
Yes, the
Oh.
Smicha is Smichas Yera.
Yeah, yes.
So the Rav only mentioned Kashas. Yera also usually Taras Mishpacha too, yeah?
Rabbi Barber, you want to touch on that?
This is the kashrus part. The basar b'chalav turas amalicha. Hilchos Tara is I think that is a separate course that's offered or a separate certificate. So that can also be learned, but I guess the following year, if that's a subject that you want to cover. But it's not covered in this. This is for 1 year. There's no way to fit in more than that.
I'm just trying to understand because it's by my own heart. I thought Smicha covered all of Yera.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It never did. I mean, I don't know if it. Maybe if you were getting private smicha from a particular rav, like in the olden days,
test in all this
telling
stuff.
you, like he was really giving his name to you. But this is more of, I would call it a yeshiva style smicha. In other words, the type that you would get, after you were in yeshiva, and then you learned the Gemara for a number of years, and then the Rosh Yeshiva told you, okay, now in your Yeridea, and then you get tested by the yeshiva on it. Usually that did not include so many other sections. It was only these few sections, give or take. Sometimes it was treifus there. That it did evolve a little bit, but that's more or less what it was. I think I want to cover. I see one question, which I think I can talk to for a minute about putting in other time besides for the shir. The answer to that is the shir is structured really to give you pretty much all the material that you need to know as far as knowing the important, really the important foundation of all the halachas. So that means if you listen to the shir, most probably it'll be necessary to chazer the shir to some extent. By taking notes or listening over, depending on how you process information. So that's definitely necessary. But it could be done. It means if you don't have a chavrusa, you're not going to be learning it inside. You don't have that much experience necessarily learning inside. You can get away with it just from the shir. The shir is very rich. It gives a lot of the background. It gives the reasons. It's not dry where it just tells you, as this is, I think, Rav Yidel spoke to a little bit. I don't just tell you the rules. Okay, we go through to really understand and appreciate the halacha in a very rich manner. So yeah, you have the information just from the shir really. It's probably just too much information to process just by listening to it once, to be honest. There probably is, probably be necessary to listen over again. So I would say realistically that it would be necessary to put in so let's say that there's 3 hours of a shir a week. So besides for the time of the shir, I would imagine that it would be necessary to put in at least another hour and a half of reviewing, either the shirim on quicker speed or only the parts of it that you missed and stuff like that. That should be enough. As far as if you're going to be, you want to put a lot of time in, let's say somebody's retired and they have a chavrusa set up, the more you put in, the more you take out. So whatever you put in is not going to be, time lost or whatever it is. It's definitely going to, you're going to remember it longer. You'll understand it better. You'll appreciate it more. But what can you manage with, get away with if you're busy schedule? You commit to the 2 shiurim and then allow some other time, Shabbos, to go it over. It will be necessary to go it over a bit, but you can get away with it if it's not that much time. Besides for the shiurim, you can get away with it.
Okay, perfect. There's just one more question I see that was asked. I mean, it's a technical question, but we'll touch on it. How large is the class? Again, I could tell you how large the class was this past year, and hopefully we're only going to get bigger. The Zoom class had close to 60 Talmidim this year, with another 12 that came live in Crown Heights. With that being said, I'm going to end with this. For further questions, please call my number. I put it in the chat box. This course is you're walking away with a Semicha certificate, which in some circles you'd call that's what gives you the title rabbi. And as such, it is a big responsibility on our part to be giving you such a certificate. Everything needs to be, obviously, being that our courses are extremely large, we don't know exactly, we'll speak to each of you and find out exactly who you guys are, but we are not your rabbi. We're not necessarily part of your communities. So we don't know you. We don't know your private life. It is self-understood that being that this is an Orthodox course and run by Orthodox rabbis, that all those attending and all those completing the course are in fact Shomrei Shabbos and Shomrei Kashrus. So this year it will be a requirement, being that our courses are extremely large and we don't know everybody we don't know them personally. So we will need a letter from your rabbi, Orthodox rabbi, that you are in fact a Shomrei Shabbos and a Shomrei Kashrus. And that letter should be emailed to us or sent to us by mail sometime prior of receiving your Semicha certificate. For any further questions, feel free to reach out. You have my number. And wishing you all a lot of hatzlacha. We hope to see you all in the course of Mirza Hashem. Yesher koach to Rabbi Barber, Yesher koach Rabbi Willem, Yesher koach Rabbi Schwartz. Good night, everybody. Laila tov.